You know, it's funny that you mentioned using this as therapy. I was listening to a Jordan Peterson discussion, I guess, and he talks about how conversation is how humans kind of organize their thoughts. So they have conversations, and then the way they talk through something is really them just organizing their thoughts in real time. And
Yeah.
I haven't had that so much in the last COVID years. So it's funny you mentioned it being therapy because that's kind of what this is for me as well.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's like um, not that many people are able to have an enlightened perspective like you and I might, at least willing to look at things from a different way. And also, if you and I are cued into a lot of the same things. So I feel like when we talk, we feel a little bit more free to kind of just openly be ourselves or say what we're thinking. Whereas, maybe when you're having a conversation with someone you don't know as well, you can't really go to certain places, and that's just kind of, society in general. Like you're not always going to be super close with everyone to where you can start peeling back those layers and actually see what's working behind the ears.
Yeah. I mean, we talk every day, so we kind of know where we stand on everything. But
Yeah.
so I want to learn a little bit more about seed oils. So everybody is obsessed with seed oils right now.
Okay.
And you're the only person that I've talked to that knows anything beyond seed oils are bad, right?
Yeah.
So just like what are seed oils? Like, what's the significance of them? How do they start? That just go down the whole road. It's good.
Should I start at like the beginning?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. So this is going to be kind of loose. If you want to fact check me, I'm sure there might be some tiny details I'm getting wrong here, but I think the overall concept is the same. The titans of industry in the early 1900s really had such vast supply chains and monopolies on what they did well on their industries, whether that be agriculture or oil. And at the end of the supply chain, there's all these waste products that you'd like to be able to repurpose. And, that's what titans of industry do. They are, violently capitalistic to the point where they're trying to sell every last bit of their supply. So
I think that's actually how gasoline came about.
right.
It was like a byproduct of making kerosene.
We can get really into the weeds if you want to go over how Rockefeller basically started allopathic medicine because all synthetic vitamins and drugs are petrol derivatives, oil derivatives, and that's kind of what we're talking about at the end of the supply chain, the oil stuff.
I would love to go down that rabbit hole. Let's do it.
Trying to, well, let's stay on seed oils. I think in order to get in our mindset and to understand everything better, it's not time specific. So if you understand the concept that the biggest companies that produce the most highest volume of industry, the titans of industry, are always going to try to maximize their supply chain. So just like in oil, as an example, farmers have seeds and big crops that, just like you ever pop popcorn and not all the seeds, or even popcorn is like leftover seeds that they couldn't use, right?
Okay.
But some of those seeds at the end of the popcorn are just, maybe they're just bad seeds, they can't be used. So they wanted to find a use for all these seeds at the end of the yield of the crop. You can't use everything to harvest. Not everything is perfect plant material to harvest. And so when you grind these seeds, you can yield oil. And they use this oil for, they still do, for a lot of different purposes. Like if you Google soybean oil RBD right now, you'll see you can buy these barrels of soybean oil. And there's all of these industrial purposes, machine lubricant, just a lot of mechanical processes, stuff like that. And
you said soybean oil
RBD. That means
RBD.
that stands for refined, bleached, deodorized. So basically, they take these seeds and they mash them, they refine them, they bleach them, they deodorize them, and it goes through all these chemical processes. And at each end of the process chain, there's a different use for the soybean oil. And then all the way at the end of that process chain, it's been refined and bleached and deodorized so much that they can start using that for food products. So the food products is soybean oil is just one vegetable oil, but they do this with canola, which is rapeseed, and
You chose
corn.
that name.
Yeah, it's. I mean, what it does to your body, it's pretty accurate.
Right. Yeah.
But so you got soybean, canola, which is rapeseed, and then also corn. So these are like your main vegetable oils. So those are probably like the three worst. And they're worst for a few reasons. So we just discussed this process where they're basically turning engine lubricant into food products. So there's a lot of heating and treating that goes on that gives off harmful byproducts throughout that oil. And there's oxidation that happens. The seeds that they're using could be rancid, and by the time that oil hits the shelves, it probably is rancid. And then, when you're heating it up again, you're basically ingesting all of this oil, which in its content, because we're not eating the plant, we're eating the seeds. It's like if you eat peanut oil, like a teaspoon of peanut oil is like a whole fucking box of peanuts, So it's like you're not meant to eat like peanuts by themselves might be okay, but you're not meant to eat that much of that oil.
Mm-hmm.
And that oil is a certain type of oil, which is more rich in omega-6. So basically all oil is fat. Fats can come in different size chains.
Explain that real quick. So fats are triglyceride chains, right?
Yeah. So I mean, they're just like we're getting down really chemical right now, and I haven't taken chemistry since college, but I did take a few classes, and I've been following this stuff, so I understand, just basic like how the chains work. There's going to be different size chains create different properties. So omega-3s are a fat you might have heard of that has beneficial properties in the body, and you want to get
algae oil for brain.
Yeah, you want to get a healthy ratio of omega-3s to omega-6s. So omega-6s might have some functioning in your body, but they're not supposed to be in a ratio that is too far heavy on the omega-6 to the omega-3. So these oils are super heavy on that ratio of omega-6 to omega-3. And because of that, their properties lead to inflammation. And then also they store the type of fat that just stores. It doesn't get utilized right away. And so what happens when that fat stores is all of those harmful byproducts that were created in this process chain of refinement, bleaching, deodorizing, all of those harmful byproducts are getting stored in your body. And they have every number of chronic disease causing properties from the inflammation. And if you look back to when these oils were created, these diseases are new to modern man. Like our ancestors didn't have a lot of these diseases that are showing up today. And, I think there's a lot of evidence that points to that's totally to the diet, So in addition to that, all those reasons, there's also GMOs that they use in the monocrop agriculture. So, they're not organic, they're sprayed with pesticides, and they're GMOs, which both of those have been shown to be very detrimental to health. The pesticides are detrimental to the endocrine system, which is, your hormones. And then the GMOs are actually DNA they affect your DNA.
Really?
So if you're thinking about this, you want to pass on good DNA to your next offspring and ensure a healthy lifestyle. Everything that you do and eat is shaping your DNA on a daily basis. So, you're going to be passing on everything that you are shaping for your next level of offspring.
Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, there's a pretty big argument to be made that like most sickness or chronic disease kind of, oh, nice. Cheers to you, bro.
Oh,
What are
yeah.
we drinking?
Oh, red wine, baby. Let's go. I got a little cab
Yes,
going.
sir. Nice. Got a Pinot over here.
Nice.
I just got in a box of 8 bottles from some distillery from my father-in-law. So we got to take care of that.
What a gentleman.
Yeah, true gentleman.
Where's the wine from?
Tobin James.
Okay.
He got us some like wine club membership, and they send you 8 bottles to start.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty sweet deal. I had to take a break. I was drinking a little too much whiskey, so I haven't really. This is only my second glass or third glass of wine in the last month.
Yeah,
drinking too much whiskey.
Yeah, it's definitely a different vibe with the wine and the whiskey. Like you can't really, you can't have too many of the whiskeys, otherwise it's just you're not.
See, I was noticing like I was getting super puffy and just looking worn down because I was drinking it like I'd have a drink or two every other night or every night sometimes, and like it was just like I could visibly see myself aging and looking like shit. I was like, this has to stop.
Yeah.
So took a little break and had a couple glasses of wine this month, but that's about it. But yeah, as far as like inflammation, I mean, alcohol probably does that same thing, right?
Yeah, I would say probably mainly from the dehydration factor, but you follow Carnivore MD?
Of course.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I hope anybody listening to this does.
Yeah, I mean, he's the man. I mean, he's the a main source of piquing my interest to go look into these topics more and fun facts about this stuff and kind of validating a lot of stuff that I've read in other places. But it's nice to see a doctor who actually cares about functional medicine and not just kind of treating everything with a drug. So with the seed oils, it does come full circle to that the sick modern American man diet where we're, our health professionals are kind of inclined to, for whatever reason, they're inclined to more so recommend a drug to kind of put a Band-Aid on the issue rather than try to treat the core issue with functional health, diet. And, I'm sure you and I are aligned on the fact that, everything can be fixed with your diet pretty much.
Right. Yeah, I find the closer that I live to that, the Carnivore MD, Carnivore Aurelius lifestyle is
Carnivore Aurelius is awesome too. Yeah.
The better I feel. Like and so I think I've got Mrs. McGrew pretty close to talk into moving out to the country and just getting some land and doing our thing. So
dude,
we'll work on that. We're pretty close.
At the top of the bull market, we were like, dude, let's buy a compound. Let's do it. We're all gonna, it might take us a few more years to do that now, but I'm aligned, bro. Even just going to the farmers market and I see more farmers markets out here than in the city, but even in the city they have farmers markets, but it's your direct to the farmer. It's like it's almost frowned upon nowadays because the reasons there are so many regulations and barriers to entry is because they don't want you to have that direct person-to-person relationship because that's cutting into their industry, Yeah. And it's not it doesn't even necessarily have to be malicious. I mean,
yeah,
you could argue either way, but it's just, it's, at the end of the day, like we're trying to,
it's business, right? Yeah, I think I saw the other day, like 5 companies control most of the food that we eat. Just five companies control most of the food that we eat. That's crazy.
Yeah, definitely for me.
Yeah, so I think I told you already, but I just got cow directly from a farmer. Dude, the meat is unbelievable. So it's like good. Not even like what have I been eating all these years? I made it this first time.
I want to try it. Do you have any
I got
left?
some, yeah. Yeah, of course. I got a full freezer, bro. You can have some. Like I made this chili, and the first bite, like both me and the wife were looking at it, like this is amazing. This is so. It's
Yeah.
like velvety. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah. And it just,
So yeah,
you
never
can
going
feel the
back.
difference in the nutrition.
Hmm.
It's energizing, you know, you don't,
Yeah.
and you can taste it. And that's crazy because cows are the most, I could wax poetically about cows forever. They're the most
The
amazing
sacred
animal,
cow.
the sacred cow, but the type of animals, ruminants, I think is what they're called.
Okay.
It's like these hooved animals. They're the most beautiful animals in nature because they graze on the grass, they fertilize the grass, and they turn this grass into the most nutritious protein that humans can eat, and what humans use to evolve our brains over time. That's why we grew teeth. I was watching this video today of this like Yale professor talking about how Australopithecus. Sorry,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know I
Nailed it.
botched that.
Nailed it.
Yeah, but that the evolution between that you know, time in the human being lineage, um, they evolved. They used to mash their meat with like rocks and tools, and then they evolved teeth, bones grew out of our mouths so that we could mash the tool or mash the meat ourselves. And because we were able to do that, we had energy surplus that allowed our brains to develop. And basically, there's no reason why I shouldn't eat meat. That people have been eating meat since the dawn of time, and just now, it is a great industrial marketing gimmick to tell people to eat. If you want to call it plant-based, that's fine. But it's really like more like industrial waste-based. You know, it's like
Yeah.
if you look at like those. I'm not going to shade any brand, but if you look at those like fake meat
I'll say the
labels,
brands like the
yeah,
Impossible Burger,
yeah,
all that
like you,
garbage.
well,
It's
it
just one big
really,
seed oil, isn't it?
yeah. I mean, if you look at the ingredients, it's all industrial waste products at the very bottom of the supply chain, and they've convinced you to eat it. They can't tell you that it's healthier now because I think there's enough information out there that an educated person knows that it's not healthier, but they might have you on the moral imperative. And that's why it's disingenuous a little bit because these animals that have been, you know, really the reason why we're here. We grew and evolved with them. They've been on the earth probably before us, grazing and just. And if you look at a green pasture of like grass-fed pastured cattle versus like a field that is a monocrop agriculture like soybean and corn, they
Hmm.
decimate the soil, bro. They decimate the soil. They they over chemicalize and pesticides to try to get higher yields, and that takes all the nutrients out of the soil. And they don't care about all the animals they have. It's not like manned by hand. They have machines manning and cropping. So all the animals that get killed in that, you know, your rodents and some birds and bugs, all those animals, you know, that's getting killed in your vegan supply chain. So
Yeah.
are you just saying that the cute animals matter to you, or do you actually care about the animals? I don't know if you watch Yellowstone, but
So
there
I
was a
saw a
good
new
part
season
of it.
just came out. Yeah, I need to watch this, but yeah, go ahead.
You haven't watched it yet?
No, I've
Oh
been
my
told that I
god,
would love it.
dude! I'm honestly I'm jealous that you haven't seen it yet because you get the opportunity to watch it through.
Okay.
It's right up your alley. You would love it.
Yeah,
And I think
why?
it does a good job at like kind of highlighting the beauty of that other side. You know, I think people try to get caught up in these campaigns that are meant to divide us when really when the two sides that are at odds actually talk it out and hear each other out, there's a lot more ground in common, and you can actually understand other people's lifestyles, and you know, we can
Yeah.
coexist.
I was talking to a friend of mine who thinks differently politically than I do yesterday. And he mentioned, he's like, it's pretty cool to go to the midterms today and see that, you have people from 6 different generations or 6 different groups that are all there voting. And I was like, yeah, I was standing between a girl with green hair and an old lady behind me. and everyone was just happy to be there and happy that other people were voting, regardless of who you were voting for. We're just happy that you're there voting. So it's like,
Exactly.
wait, we don't actually hate each other as much as they tell us we do.
No, there's always like good political cartoons that are, they never change over time. It's always the people in power are small in numbers compared to the people, the masses, the plebes, or the plebs, I don't even, the plebeians, the peasants, and they always outnumber whatever ruling class there is throughout history, but they find clever ways of pitting them against each other. And, like there's a lot of good political cartoons. I don't want to go verbal meme because usually
Right.
you airball when you try to tell someone a meme like in words, and you're like, and if they don't even get, and first of all, you have to even get like the topic to get the meme. So it's like,
yeah, I mean the plebeian thing starts thousands of years ago. That's what the Romans used to call the common folk.
Yeah, exactly.
The plebs and
Little guy.
what was it? Not the ultimates. Optimates. Yeah. The optimates and the plebs. And so like finally the plebs had enough and they finally got some representation. And that was kind of how the little guy started having a voice over, or to somewhat equal the big guys. I lost you there. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. My bad.
No, you're good. But we were talking just a little bit ago about how like healthcare is more about like, let me give you a pill, and we are trying to understand like why do that instead of say go exercise and eat some red meat and take care of yourself. What are your thoughts on why that happens?
Well, I think the common theme of these conversations have been titans of industry and wanting to, make sure that they're maintaining their customer base, and the best customer in that industry is a sick customer, like someone who's healthy is going to be less inclined to come in, and they're going to need less visits. And, and if your solutions are solving the problem, then that means they're not going to be coming back as often. So it's unfortunate that it's like that, but I think just the way healthcare is set up here, it's more of a, for-profit driven business versus in other places of the world is looked as kind of like a common good thing. But I don't know. I think that, I'm not advocating for like all like a socialistic policy where, everything is free, but I think there are insane margins, and it's been proven where these people go to jail for like overcharging for drugs, or they can't. No one ever really goes to jail for overcharging for treatments, but I'm sure that if you were to take surgeries done by high quality doctors in another country versus here, it's a lot more expensive here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the economically, the argument for that is that we are responsible for a large majority of the R&D for the industry, and so it seems like we get to pay that price as well, and it's become such like a almost a cartel, really. Like the insurance industry like sets everything, and they're a for-profit business, right? They're there for one reason. They don't exist to make people healthy. They exist to make money. Healthy patients don't make for good bottom lines and good stock prices.
Yeah.
And you were talking a little bit ago about like how the plebes and the upper echelon of society is like a tale as old as time. It is, and so like I wonder, there's like a huge push right now, at least in my circles, of like we got to keep this communism out of here, and I'm all aboard that train, 100%. And then like somebody else on like the other side would say, well, they've been saying that forever, but it's like, am I falling for this old way of thinking that just circle of life just continues, or is this like really like a true push to basically what I would call like enslavement of the common man?
Yeah. I would say that there's good reason to be concerned, because our our country was founded by some badasses that didn't want to fucking pay tax on tea anymore. And they were like, fuck this. We're just going to do our own thing. And we don't need all these unnecessary taxes if we don't understand how you're using them. And if they were to see the state of affairs now, I'm sure they'd be rolling in their grave, because it's gotten so bad. It's like, it doesn't take a high, like a highly educated person to realize, like, you get paid and they take taxes out, and then you go buy something and you're paying tax on that. And if that something happens to go up in value and you sell it, then you have to pay tax on that. And then when you die, your family has to pay taxes on your money that is handed down to them. So it's like, nothing is really like.
We're a country that was founded on like people having a rebellion on paying like a 3% tax. And now, like, if you're in the upper echelon, you're paying well over 50%.
Yeah, but there are like ways to do like really good advanced accounting if you own businesses, or if you own real estate, where you can write off losses and then you end up not paying. Also, donating money, write off your donations, and you can write stuff off with your business. And the system is deep, and it is set up to where it's, you got to kind of be in the know to know what's going on. So it's hard to it's hard to raise class. It's just that's the goal, to make it hard to raise class. But I wanted to get into just kind of micro dose this state of affairs. I feel like you know more about the election stuff than me, about how the results have been coming out, and how far along we are in the process, and if you really do know how everything is going to shake out, or there's still stuff up in the air.
So right now, today's the day after the election.
The blood moon Tuesday.
Yeah, so much for that. That didn't happen.
Oh no, it did. No, the blood. I mean, like the blood moon.
I meant like the correlation with a red moon and a red wave.
No, the red moon was just blood for all. The blood moon.
Yeah, that's true. Blood for the markets. So as of now, Georgia is going into a runoff. So what they have to do in Georgia is they have to have, to get elected, you have to have the 50%, or you have to have over 50% of the vote. And the Warnock character, who was the Democratic rep, I think I want to say he was like 49.2, and then Herschel Walker was 48.7, somewhere around there. So they're having a runoff. Now, ideally, you would want to think that the libertarian votes would, probably side with the Republicans.
I've been seeing stuff like this. Yeah.
You would want to think that, because it makes sense, because there's no doubt that a libertarian person is not going to go over on the side of this, what we're seeing today with the Democratic Party is just like bloated like gigantic government, insane spending, insane ideology. But you thought that last time, and I guess there was, I think the runoff was after January 6th, and so it was shortly after that, and everyone's just like pissed off at Republicans. But the Democrat Party is just so much better at getting people to vote. The mail-in voting shit is, it's still a problem. Like, you can't. It seems silly to have it be so available, but it is what it is. But they're just so much better at mobilizing. So I'm not too comfortable with Georgia. I think Herschel Walker went into it. He was like maybe a 2-point favorite, and he's not. I just don't know that he's going to be able to pull it off. Fetterman was the Pennsylvania winner, and I think everyone was pretty shocked by that. That's like the big weird one of the day.
Yeah,
like, how did this guy that can't even fucking talk, how did he get elected? Well, it's because Dr. Oz is like, one, he's like really not even from there. Yeah. And that's Trump's fault. Like, Trump should have never like put this dude, given his endorsement to this dude that like nobody liked. That was so stupid. The biggest loser of this election is Donald Trump, and he's not even in it. Then in Arizona, you have Blake Masters and I forget what's his name, Kelly. Kelly's the incumbent, and I think he's up by quite a few points right now, but they only have like 75% of the vote in. Arizona's a shit show once again. They got to learn how to run a fucking election. And
Yeah, I
then I
don't
think they
understand how you
called.
can have like Florida's election. Say what you want about DeSantis. You know, I love DeSantis.
Yeah,
Even being independent of Republican or Democrat, the Florida election was counted like the same night. And like now we have all of these places. Like you would think that the critical infrastructure that is necessary to vote would be kind of tested and well-oiled machine, but it
especially
is
after the way 2020 went down.
yeah, it's concerning that like there's mishaps happening where they have to take so long to count votes and stuff like that. But
yeah, I mean the fact that they're like in the 70s as far as like percent of votes counted is it's just ridiculous. It's 2022 and like that should be a same day thing.
yeah, I mean the technology definitely exists for it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I don't know if you've looked into like blockchain for voting.
Makes perfect sense. It's a ledger. It's an immutable ledger. That's what you want.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, Arizona's a shit show again. Nevada again, a shit show. Can't keep up with their counting, so they're probably only at like 80% of the votes counted. That one's looking pretty good for Republicans. I think the Republican, I forget who it is. I forget their name, but they're up by like three points. And then let's see who's left. So Nevada's looking good for Republicans. Arizona, I'm not so sure. It's going to be a toss-up between Masters and Kelly. Right now, I think the count is 49-48 in favor of Republicans. Obviously, you need 51 for a majority.
That's the Senate.
Yeah. Just
we should. I gotta ask Jay Lou. He's out there in Cap Hill. He's doing his lobbyist thing now, but he worked for a senator. He staffed for a senator. He staffed for a congressman. He worked on Capitol Hill for a while.
Okay.
So I'm sure he has his ear to the ground as to how things are shaking out.
Yeah, I forget. There's one. They called Wisconsin today. So let's see. It's Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada. I think are the only ones left. So of those, two of them are a toss-up, including a one runoff, and then Nevada's looking good for Republicans. So honestly, it's probably going to end up being another 50-50 split. Maybe we might get lucky to get 51. I don't see Herschel Walker winning a runoff just because the Republican Party sucks as far as organizing that kind of stuff.
Are there implications for the House? Or are there not enough seats in the air?
I'm pretty sure that Republicans pretty much had that locked up.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what the count. I think the last count I saw was it was like 202 to 180 maybe.
And it was they already had the majority there, right?
No, the Democrats did.
In the House too?
Yeah, they had a big majority, but now it's switching.
Whatever side of the line you fall on, you don't want it to be 100% lined up with your party. Like I don't really agree or understand people who are just like, oh, this is why I'm voting Democrat or this is why I'm voting Republican. Like, maybe you should educate yourself on the people that are, running, and then if you want to say every person that you want to vote for happens to fall on this side of the party line, but that's just not the way it's pitched with these red and blue teams, and that's why I will be devil's advocate for the libertarian side, who are just some proud motherfuckers who are like, at the end of the day, it's pretty much the same. A lot of bad stuff has happened from each side. We have somewhat of an illusion of choice by only having like two options. But ultimately, there's it's always business as usual, I feel like.
Yeah. I think I forget who Hulk Hogan said today. Different names, same thing.
Yeah, brother.
Over and over and over. So yeah, I mean,
South Park, dude. South Park is the best. It's like the douche or the chip turd sandwich. Have you seen that one?
No, I think I've heard of it, but I've never.
They have like a. It's like they always do election episodes. But one of them was like they're voting on someone who's going to be like the president of the universe or something, and one candidate is literally a giant douche, like the product, a douche, and the other candidate is a turd sandwich, like he's a big turd sandwich. So it's like literally like your choices are between a douche and a turd sandwich. I'm sure there's some good guys out there, but
why don't more high quality people run?
I'm sure that there are high quality people in the system. It's just when, in order to fund a campaign nowadays, you need a lot of money, and money comes with obligations, or at least you have to be open to accommodating the folks that are giving you money to run. So you might win, but then you have to kind of go back to all the people that helped you get there and make sure that they're taken care of.
Yeah, because it's really not like one person that I can think of is like, yeah, that's a leader right there. Like maybe DeSantis.
DeSantis is like, I feel like he's like too good to be true.
I know,
because me, I'm big on false prophets. I think I don't like to really simp or idolize anyone, because everyone has disappointed me along the way. Every billionaire, every person that I think is coming to save us probably has his own intentions, incentives, and I don't want to put too much faith or weight in like this next hero who's going to be the savior, because I'm skeptical.
Yeah, I think like I said a little bit ago, I think the biggest loser of this election was Donald Trump, and then for him to go, so Saturday he was like calling Ron DeSantis sanctimonious, because realistically Trump won that first election for DeSantis. Like he won the election for DeSantis. It's pretty fair to say that. And now DeSantis is like this superstar, like the promised one. Yeah. And now Trump like recognizes like he's the only threat. I mean, the polls still say like, as far as 2024 goes for the Republican Party, it's like, I think today, whenever I looked, it was like 50% of Republicans want Trump for the nomination. Next was DeSantis, and he's only at 20%. So Trump still has like a 30-point lead, but he's sending out all this shade on DeSantis, and I think like people are just tired of it. And last night was very, very clear. Like Republicans are sick of like the Trump show.
Yeah, I mean, I think people who were too caught up in the divisive nature of politics were blinded to some of good things that Trump did. I'm not saying everything he did was good, but there was a lot of work that he did that consequently was unwinded in the following administration. Like he did work to lower drug prices, and then on day one of the next admin, they signed an EO that kind of cut his basically. And this is the same thing that Republicans did to Obama when Obama was, and I unfortunately wasn't as clued into politics then, so there might have been good reason for doing it, but it's like this beef, like we're just going to go in and tear down everything that the previous administration did, and then if something goes wrong, we're going to blame it on them. And it's like each successive party or administration, whichever one it is just running by that same playbook.
Yeah, I think one thing that really needs to be readjusted. So it used to be like for like in Senate, you'd have to have, I don't know if this is the right number, but it used to be like you'd have to have like a 60-40 vote to pass something. Now it's 51. You just need 51 out of 100. And so it just makes it so much easier to just, if you have control of the House or the
just
Senate.
Grease one or two people.
Yeah. And I mean, that just like creates way more back and forth for sure. It prevents things from actually working out. Like, there are some things that I'm sure that Obama did that would have been good given time that weren't able to fully run their course. Same thing with Trump. They didn't get to run the course, so they didn't get to realize the gains from that. And it's just like the dumbest thing possible to have like a 50-50 split. It just leaves everything in,
nothing ends up getting accomplished. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Even if you start to accomplish it, it just gets torn down. the next,
yeah,
the next cycle.
A lot of these guys purposely make stuff that is, not going to take effect for 8 years, because by the time it actually does take effect, they're not going to be there anymore to kind of bear the consequences. So I could see it going both ways, but yeah, I mean, it's an interesting time.
Yeah. I mean, especially, so like we had, the whole COVID time, I'm gonna have to bleep that out, but the whole time that we spent the last couple of years dealing with all the craziness, there was a lot of things that were put in place. It wasn't handled perfectly or even close, right? It was handled pretty terribly, really. But there's like bureaucrats that have been in that city doing their job for 30 years. One in particular is the most high paid person in all of government. And on top of what he makes for being in government, he has all these subsidies. So he's inclined to push things in a certain direction.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what, I don't think that the whole like jab narrative is because at this point, or even at any time, I don't think it's because they thought it was like this great thing. I think it's because we made a deal with the devil and we had to follow through on that deal. So we're sitting on piles and piles of this juice and we have to get rid of it, right? We made a deal. Bail us out of this terrible situation.
Yeah.
Ended up being potentially, I don't know if we're allowed to say this, but potentially definitely having some harmful side effects. And, they're still saying, you got to do this, even though it doesn't do anything that we promised, nothing at all. It actually doesn't help you a little bit, and probably hurts you more than it helps.
Especially,
but they're still pushing, even with everybody knowing it's like, okay, this is like, it doesn't work, but you're still going, the best thing you can do is get it.
It's that whole web goes deep, and the crazy thing is that it's almost like people have forgotten about that now, because there's people's mindsets are so short-lived that there's like when they voted today, they didn't even remember that they're hyped up about whatever the current thing is, so I think it's always questionable, and I think it's okay, and this is what the Libertarian Party does well, is like, government spending in general is they keep asking us for more, or even Republicans talk about it too, but then they also still, I think they still have a lot of big capital backing them as well too, so they don't want to fully like cut spending, because in the end, like, spending obviously creates
two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I get it, but at the same time, it's like you keep collecting more money, and then they keep asking for more money, and then the debt keeps growing. So it's like there's something going on here with the management of the money that's being collected, to where it's totally reasonable to ask questions as to like, where is this going?
Yeah, I mean, I think to me, like, it seems pretty obvious, like, what's going on there. It's like, okay, we'll get your money, the populace, will pay our friends' companies who also give us donations to our campaigns. And it's just like, basically all it is just money laundering. So like, they're money laundering taxes to be put in their own pockets. And it's just like,
it does at times. Yeah, it does at times really raise eyebrows with, because it's like, it's not like a private corporation can do whatever they want with their money, and it's none of our business what they do. But when it's public funds that are being utilized for tax dollars that are being utilized to fund things, I think us as a taxpayer, it's totally reasonable for us to want to understand where that's going. And I don't think there's ever been a good transparency there, and I unfortunately don't think there ever will be. There's only one Ron Paul, and I don't know if there's going to be another one.
You ever listen to Dave Smith?
Dave Smith is awesome. I follow him on Twitter. I've seen him on Joe Rogan. I haven't listened to all of his podcasts, but I appreciate when I'm talking about like the pride of a libertarian. I appreciate how, like, you know, like you said, there are a lot of issues that libertarians might align with Republicans on, but like someone in like some Twitter blue check was like giving him a hard time about like being like alt-right or Republican, and he was like, I'm not a fucking Republican.
Yeah.
I'm a libertarian. Like, just because I think this way, like, and it's like he's like, even though I align on these things, he refuses to identify as that. And I think that's that pride that leads to that 2% staying in that 2%. And even though they might be able to swing the election, which, hey, I understand the Republican side too. They're like, hey, like, it feels like we're kind of on the same team, you know? It feels like you should be trying to like align our interests. But that pride is just, you know.
I mean, yeah, it's hard to say that they're wrong. I think it's like truly, it's like the only answer. I think they're probably wrong on like borders and war. I think you need to have a big stick to keep your place in the world. Like
Empire.
geopolitically, like we are the top dog.
Yeah, we benefit from living in the empire.
Yeah,
Everyone does.
Yeah.
We can't act like every person who's like down with the patriarchy, down with capitalism, as they're like, you know, tweeting from their iPhone or like with their Starbucks in their hand. Like, that's obviously the meme, but everyone benefits from living in the empire. And Rogan talks about it sometimes, how, or maybe as guests, but you know, the person who's living the worst in our country still has it better than, you know, almost every other country. And I'm not saying it's better than, conditions are better than everywhere in the world, but a good majority of the world.
Yeah, like a huge majority. Yeah, I think the biggest argument for libertarians is like we just need to like kind of reset this whole thing because it is out of balance.
Yeah, I mean that's why you know we both love Bitcoin, because it seems like it's a system of money, which is what everyone needs, and we decided to transact in. Like, money, the history of money goes all the way back to, like, you know, Florence, ancient, not ancient, but you know, Florence back in the day was one of the first places to start recording things on a ledger, and that's how they started paying people back, like with like they had one person who was like accounting for all this stuff, and then, you know, then you actually get coins to represent that, and that turns into money. And when money in the system has been all created fairly, then everyone has confidence that the money is going to hold its value. But when the money in the system stops being created fairly, and there are players in the game that can just add money or print money, like FTT tokens, you know, or Celsius tokens, or, you know, whatever you want to say, if you're able to create money out of thin air, then that lessens the value of everyone else who's playing in that system. And, you know, it happens with every currency. And that's why, even though we do that in this country, the dollar is still holding up strong against other currencies, because they're doing it worse. Not doing, we're doing it better than them.
Yep. So I named my daughter after Florence because of the fact that like Florence was truly responsible for bringing the Western world out of the Dark Ages. And it starts with having the money, because you know you can't fund the arts and the creativity that was required to break out of that.
I'm thinking of Venice. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but I think I'm thinking of Venice. That was the first place that was started recording transactions.
Was it? Because the Medici, so the Florence was where the Medici Bank was, which was like the biggest bank in all of Europe. And so what happened was the Medici banks, to start with, like Cosimo Medici, started funding the arts, and that because they were the biggest bank in the entire world, biggest family bank, the richest people in the world, they were able to fund all these creative pursuits, and that kind of busted us out of this dark age thinking.
Yeah. No,
yeah, it was because of that I forget what it's called exactly. What is it, double line accounting?
Exactly. Yeah. No, that was what allowed commerce to take place. When you
or Venice was definitely the biggest commerce place for sure.
Yeah, and that's what money is, right? We're taking something that we've given, whether that be our time, our labor, or item of value, and we're asking for that to be used at a later date. How do we use that as a later date? Currency, money is the vehicle, the technology that we use to use that labor or that time that we've given to use that in the future at a future date. And so that's why it's really important that that system is maintained fairly, because if anyone gets a fair advantage, that's the system that everyone uses in order to just survive, live, transact.
Yeah, so you actually introduced me really. So like obviously I knew what Bitcoin was, but I didn't know what Bitcoin was, and so you introduced me to that. So thank you for being the reason that I got into crypto and lost a shit ton of money. But no, but it really is like I am a true believer in it.
Hey, I will say for the record, I always did say only go for the longest time.
I know you did. I know.
I said don't fuck with shit coins because you're gonna end up losing all your money. They're gonna go to zero, and I was. I'm sure a lot of people didn't agree with that at the time, and the only reason I said that was because the only thing that is verifiable in that space is Bitcoin. There's it's transparent. You know exactly what's going on. It never goes down, and every money, every coin, every bit of Bitcoin that is released into the system was created fairly. There was energy given to the system by the miners, and it was created fairly. So no money can be introduced unfairly, and therefore no one can get an unfair advantage. And because of that running ledger, that same double ledger system that we talked about, no one can use money that hasn't been fairly sent or given to them, to their possession.
And literally today, we're seeing the effects of money created from nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, with FTX, and I don't know, how much have you looked into the FTX FTT debacle?
I know a decent amount, but there's speculation at this point because not everything is public knowledge. So there have been scenarios lined out that outline that basically FTX is insolvent. They're not. They don't have the backing or reserves for all of their outstanding receipts in people's accounts. So like for all the coins that are on there, they don't actually have all those coins. Now, how the reason they don't have those coins is unknown, but the speculation alleged, is that they were using the client funds to speculate on other assets. And that's why they don't. And then when the value of those assets go down, then they don't have the funds to pay back their people who are their holders. Just like a bank. It's like if a bank was lending out money.
Fractional reserve.
Yeah. But the thing with this one, which makes it different than Celsius, is Celsius was offering a yield product. Celsius was saying, keep your money with us and we're going to pay you a yield on it. So you kind of know, if that's the case, that they're going to have to be doing something with your money in order to be able to pay you a yield. So that's a little bit different than FTX, not a yield product. We're just talking about people who were keeping their coins or their Bitcoin or their money on the platform, are unable to withdraw because the company is unable to meet the outstanding debts.
So is this true? This is just what I've heard. They have their own currency. The FTT is FTX native currency, I guess. From what I understand, they were basically like leveraging other assets with that, and it kind of bit them in the ass because, like everybody else in the space, nobody thought it would get this bad.
Yeah, and that's the same thing that we're talking about. They have a native token that was created out of thin air, so there's really no underlying value to the token. But they're using this token that is on an open market and it's trading in a certain thing. So that means the market is valuing it at whatever, $25, $30. So if they use that token to then pledge collateral for more loans to take on more money to grow or to do whatever they want to do to speculate, when the value of their collateral goes down, then they have to either pay off the loan or they're add more collateral. And what happens is there's a cascading event of the collateral falling because people are selling, and then people are selling in order to pay off their loans that they have, which is just a cascading event that leads to mass liquidations. And allegedly, people are speculating that FTX was very levered up and they used that FTT to borrow more money, and then that kind of is what bit them in the ass when people started dumping that token. And one of the major players who dumped that token, I think this is known, I don't know, so I'm not sure about this, but I think it's known that Binance had a shit ton of that FTT. They market dumped it, which caused a huge drop in price, which freaked out the market, which caused
he was saying they were going to do it slowly so as not to affect the market. I don't know how true that is.
Yeah,
I think
sure.
that might just be him saying that to look like the good guy.
Yeah, I don't know. But there were some events in the market that caused panic, caused like a bank run type thing.
Yeah.
And then everyone went to withdraw, and then all the bacon wasn't there anymore, you know?
Yeah, that's why that's how I've explained to people. Is like basically it's a run on the bank, and now I think I took advantage of like one of their little marketing things. It's like, hey, join and get like $20 worth of this. And so I did that. So I had $20 and something on that platform, and I can't even use it. It's like I went in there today. I was like, oh shit, I forgot I had this. And so I looked, and it's like nothing works.
It's ugly, man. It's sad for all the folks that
it is. Man, I have a friend with his life savings in there.
Yeah, they didn't sign up for a yield product. They were just holding their coins there, and that's why the Bitcoiners have been yelling, you know, get your money off of exchanges. Yeah, get your money off exchanges, because everything at the end of the day is an IOU. Even the money you have in the bank is kind of belongs to the bank. It's the same system. It's just we trust that because of the Federal Reserve, that the commercial banks have like this infinite line of credit to where the Federal Reserve can always, look, when someone gets a commercial loan, that is a creation of money. You know, that is inflating the money supply, even if it's not coming from the Fed. If they're creating money to loan it to you, and that money is just going to get a constant stream, because hopefully they're managing that money enough to make that grow and allow for more people to borrow money and grow the economy. But that it's a slippery slope.
Yeah. Are you in the market right now still? You hodling through?
I mean, it's been battered and bruised since this time last year, my man. But I mean, yeah, I still believe in Bitcoin. I think that's really the only thing that is, unfortunately, with all this debacle shenanigans happening, it's tarnishing Bitcoin because it's getting lumped in with all these other shit coins. But I think when the dust settles, the real ones, and then people that get educated on it will continue to grow, and you know, we'll get through the lull, and it'll be back. There's another halving in 2024, so I think for when it gets low, we, you know, try to load up and ride that wave back up. You know, hopefully a little bit wiser this time.
Yeah, that's a big one, right? Like there were some definitely like hubris mistakes, you know, that I made. And some
every
people,
one of us, dude. Every one of us.
Yeah, like our little group, you know, the same machines that we have, for instance, you know, obviously not gonna talk about how many we have, but you know, they're half price from what we bought them. And whenever we bought them, they doubled in value within 2 months.
Yeah.
And so that was like obviously at the top. Like if we would have sold our machines before they even were up and running, we would have made double our money. I'm still, I'm still confident in that investment. Maybe not in the place where it's being run, which we won't talk about, but at the end of the day, it's math, right? It's just a computer running math problems earning us money.
Yeah. Short term, I think it's okay. I think the fear, the fear was overcrowded market, but when it's not profitable, I think Bitcoin's at like 5 cents a kilowatt right now or something like that. That's maybe not the best metric. 5 cent per hash or something like that. And at that price, it's not very profitable to run large mining operations. So you're going to see a lot of machines come offline. Hopefully that makes a difficulty adjustment go down and then makes it eventually more profitable to mine again. Because the difficulty adjustment was getting, super high, out of control to where it wasn't that profitable to mine anymore anyway. So we need to, hardware is still ours. We'll figure it out. I think those are still very advanced machines, computers that we can utilize. We still have those assets. So
yeah, oddly enough, it probably slowed down the innovation rate of the machines.
I was thinking that too. So like less R&D money
relevant for longer.
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing.
Because I'm sure like Bitmain, they were rolling in the dough. They couldn't make enough fast
I'm sure
enough.
They're levered up too. I'm sure everyone
the
is
whole
over-levered. Because even if you're not like being like a degen speculator, you're probably trying to grow your business and you're pledging either your assets or your Bitcoin as collateral to grow your business. And then when either of those two things
like
go down,
smart investment when everything is looking good.
And then when the value of your collateral goes down, the same thing happens. Your loan, your outstanding loan becomes more urgent.
Yeah, and I don't think that anyone, during all the hoopla about it, was expecting the Putin price hike because inflation is obviously Putin's fault. And I don't think anyone was, I think people obviously realized like we were in probably too good of times. I think I definitely thought about it, but I didn't want to recognize it.
No one wants to see the top, dude. You're greed. You're out. You got money signs in your eyes. You're like, we're riding this to the top, baby. It's
so many people are on here.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't think too many people thought it would get this bad, but hopefully, I'm guessing tomorrow or the next week or so we'll probably see the big capitulation. And then it's back to ride up, baby. The fun part.
Yeah. There's already blood in the streets with Binance basically balking at the FTX bailout. It could definitely get worse, and then we'll see who's affected. Just like with the fallout of the Luna thing, there was a bunch of other indirect consequences from that fallout. So I think we'll wait and see how the fallout is, but we're definitely gonna have another call when things start to reset in the right direction. And I don't know how long that's gonna be. It could be a long bear market, but that's the bear market's for accumulation.
What's funny is our last podcast together is when we hit the all-time high.
No. Oh my God. Yeah. No. That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
And
a
that
lot
was
of it really
a year
humbled
ago
us.
Today or yesterday.
It really humbled us.
Yeah, it's I don't think at that time, if you would have told me that a year from now Bitcoin would be at 16.3, I would have been like, oh, okay. No, it's way past that.
Yeah,
but it happened.
Yeah, you live and you learn. But hey, man, it was great catching up with you. I think I'm gonna get off. I got some more things to do before I call it a night. But I definitely want to get these going, maybe with some more of the boys, and get the energy back up. We need to get the morale back up, and we're gonna ride this wave back up.
We need to single-handedly break us out of this bear market.
We need to will the bull market back.
Right on, dude. Thanks for chatting with me. I'll see you later, brother.
Hell yeah, brother. Till the next time.